I'm going to demonstrate to you here this morning 3 clones of the Browning Auto 5, the most manufactured semi-auto shotgun in the world. Browning took this to Winchester initially, and they hated the gun, and he wanted to be paid a royalty, and they refused to do it. Before, they just paid him a fee. So he took it to Remington, and he was in the office at Remington, and the president of the company was going to have a meeting with him, and he dropped dead of a heart attack. So he took it to Fabrique Nationale in Belgium. They took the firearm in 1898, and they manufactured it in 12 and 20 and 16 gauge all the way through 1999. Most manufactured automatic shotgun in the world. I think it's really the first functional automatic. We had some pump shotguns that Browning had designed, but the first functional shotgun. This is a old Model 11. 1921 model, I believe, from what I can determine. And it has a suicide safety. They made these safeties from the time they started manufacturing in 1905 with a suicide safety, and they made them through 1928. Then they went to a crossbolt safety. I'm going to cock this gun so the safety will engage. And what do we mean by suicide safety? Well, this safety is a counterintuitive one. You got to pull it back to put the safety on, push it forward with your finger to turn it off. So what happens? You're in a hurry, you're out in the field, you're trying to push this thing. This thing has a hair trigger. Not a real hair trigger, but I'd say the pull on that trigger is less than 5 pounds. They quit putting these safeties because of accidents and incidents they had. It's also counterintuitive. You got to pull it to put it on and push it to take it off. Wouldn't it be better that you would have it on forward and then pull it back and have it engaged, ready to shoot? No, that's not the way it works. That's a suicide safety. Browning licensed this firearm to a lot of different companies. This is a AL-48 made by Franchi. Franchi is an Italian gun manufacturer. This particular year model was imported by Stoger Arms. If I've got everything right, this is a 1972 model. Someone has put a poly choke on it. I never liked a poly choke. It's like having a tin can on the end of your shotgun barrel. This has a nice ventilated rib barrel, as does this old Savage. My old Model 11 has nothing but a sight at the end of the barrel. I've learned to appreciate these. You dial them in, you always turn them this way, and if you want to go to a fuller choke, you go all the way around and come to it again. It squeezes down some fingers in there. Works pretty darn good. I've taken this firearm pheasant hunting with good results. It's just this idea of having to press this bolt release in order to get the lifter down. The other thing about this Franchi, the bolt release is on the opposite side as the bolt. Takes a little getting used to. Let's talk about these bushings. I'm not going to take this gun apart because it's a long drawn out affair, but there is a brass bushing in here. The actual round part of what holds this particular barrel in is beveled on the bottom side. There's a stout spring here. I guess I probably need to show because it's hard to demonstrate it. All of these guns work the same, have the exact same mechanism of function, but the barrels are not necessarily interchangeable, meaning that you can't take a Model 11 barrel and just stick it in a Savage. You can't take a Savage and stick it in a Franchi. This is an extremely important part of the function of this firearm. You do not want to over-tighten this nut. This thing sets in here and lots of action takes place inside of this. Don't over-tighten it, it'll bust and crack and you'll have a hard time finding it. Brenda, if you would come over here and just demonstrate right up here close. This barrel ring is got a cone on the bottom of it that comes down, grabs that bushing, and as this gun recoils, it brings down and compresses this bushing. It has a steel outer bushing and a brass inner bushing, compresses it and squeezes down on this magazine tube to slow down the reciprocating barrel. This is loaded for light rounds. It's only going to compress it from one end. There's a steel bushing that you can put on top of this spring that is combed, and it'll compress this bushing from both ends, both the top and on top of the spring. That's how you use it for heavy loads. It'll slow it down a lot more. You need to put a couple of drops of 3-in-1 oil on this magazine tube right below this bushing. You don't want this thing greased up, because if it's greased up, it won't have any friction. It won't be able to slow it down, and then you're going to end up busting your stock. 2 of these shotguns have had the stocks completely repaired because people shot heavy loads in it when they should have shot light loads, and the end result is it breaks the stock. Oftentimes it breaks the forearm. You have to get this forearm situated so there is no gap between the forearm and the frame of the chamber, and you don't want to over tighten it. You see there's no gap there. It all fits in. It's got 2 little pins that slip in to line it up. People will tighten this down, just tighten this down, and end up busting this forearm. These forearms are not easy to find. They can be very expensive. I speak from experience. So there you have 3 variations of licensed manufacturer for the Browning Auto 5 shotgun, the most manufactured automatic shotgun in the world. We have the Remington Model 11, 1921. We have a Savage 720, 1931, January the 8th to be exact. And we have a Franchi, manufactured for distribution by Stoger Arms from 1972. I think Franchi made these firearms, these AL-48s, until about 1990-something, 1992. They were bought by Beretta. They still manufacture firearms. People say now all it is just a label on the gun. I have a new Franchi Affinity, and it works like a dream. I'm not familiar where the Franchi is still manufacturing, but they manufactured this one. 3 variations of a very popular reciprocating barrel action clone of a Browning Auto 5.